Hi everyone, this video will be about two commands. It's going to be about the get help and get member commands. Basically, these commands help you with other commands in PowerShell. Um, if you're new to PowerShell, you'll notice kind of this verb-noun relationship, like with the first command, it's called get help. The verb is to get, the noun is to help. And PowerShell's naming convention is all about that. And they actually provided a command that gets all the verbs that are used in its naming convention. And it's called get verb. So if we run that command, we're going to be presented with a bunch of verbs: add, clear, close, copy, etc. And it's part of their naming convention to use these verbs. Okay, all right, get help. So if we run get help by itself by pressing F8 to run that line of code, we'll scroll up just a tidge. And it's very structured and it's very straightforward. When we run get help, we get a topic section of Windows PowerShell Help System. Its short description says displays help about PowerShell commandlets and concepts. Awesome. So what this command does is it basically um, presents kind of a summary of what other commands do, kind of to help you do a self-discovery. And it's very handy when you're in the middle of a project and you're trying to search for something that's going to help you do something, and you come across a command that might do what you think um, it does, but you can run the help command to really demystify what that command does. So a very common command used in a lot of PowerShell demos is the get service command. So on line 10 here, we'll hit F8. And then on the terminal window, we'll get a name, get service, and then its synopsis is gets the service on a local or remote computer. Very straightforward. So another helpful feature about get help is the ability to present examples of how to use that command. So let's say you want to use the get service command, but you're really not sure how to use it. So what we do is we type in get help, the name of the command is get service, and then dash examples, and then it'll present you with all the examples that is in the manifest file of that command. Okay, so we scroll back up to the top here. It looks similar, but we get this example sections here. And it's pretty verbose. There was, I think, 11 examples that came with this out of the box. So example one is get all services on the computer. So if you run get service on its own, this command gets all services on a computer. It behaves as though you typed in get service star. The default display shows the status, service name, display name of each service. So let's just run that real quick. Let's do it right here. Get service, F8. And what you see is a ton of running services on this computer here. And you get metadata of status, name, and display name. Now, if you're new to PowerShell or object-oriented programming, what this is doing is it's returning many objects. Basically, there is one object per service, and that object contains lots of properties and methods. And I'll create videos in the future to do more of a deep dive into PowerShell objects, but I'm going to keep it focused around get help and get member for this video. Okay, so we typed in get service. Another thing you can do, let's just go back to the examples here. And let's see if we can do this. Okay, so example 2, get services that begin with a search string. So this is basically saying get all services that start with WMI asterisk. In this instance, asterisk is a wildcard, saying that it's going to return all services that begin with WMI and anything else trailing afterwards. Um, let's see, example 3, display services that include the search string, display name, network. Okay, so if we scroll up for a little bit, I think you can see display name. So what that command will do is it will try to find the word network in any of these display name um, properties that are in the display name property. Okay, I'm going to pick a service and I'm going to search for the exact service name of WinRM. So if I hit F8 on line 15, we'll see that it returns one object and its status is running. The name is WinRM and the display name is Windows Remote Management. Okay, so that's just kind of a example of how to research a command and then us investigating that command with the examples and then using that command or using the command examples. Now, another command that will help you is getMember. GetMember is all about understanding the properties and methods of that command. So if we run getMember by itself, it'll throw an error because it needs, well, in a later video, I'll do a deep dive into PowerShell errors. But in this error, it says you must specify an object for the getMember commandlet. So let's say you're just trying to discover what getMember does, throws an error, you're like, okay, I don't know how to use this thing. What you can do is you can just put it in the get help. You can do get help name, getMember, and then press F8. So what we're presented with is a little help snippet from the manifest saying its name and its synopsis is get the properties and methods of an object. Super straightforward. Now let's do this here. Let's use this on get service. Now, what's happening here is I'm using a pipe method, or I'm using a pipe to pass in the get service command to the get member command. Basically, the pipe is saying take this output and input it into get member. And later, I'll make videos on piping and explain more in detail of what that actually is. Okay, so if we run this here, we get many objects with a name, member type, and definition property. And I'm going to focus on two of the methods in the get service command, which will be the start and stop. This is probably the most practical methods to use in your day-to-day work. So down here, I'll run the examples of the start and stop methods on the get service for WinRM. So if we get the service on the WinRM, we can see that the status is running. If we run the stop method, and I'll quickly explain what's happening here, I have put this in parentheses, and what this basically means is take this and run the stop method on this. And right now this is very high level. I'm not explaining a lot because I haven't explained a lot yet. I'll make future videos on explaining exactly that syntax. Okay, so if we run the line 26, pressing F8, it returns nothing, but we go investigate by running line 25, and we see that the status is stopped. So what this did is it took the WinRM service and it stopped it in PowerShell. It's the same exact result if you went to the services GUI and you right-click and you hit stop. Same exact method. So what we can do is we can actually start the service by running this line here, returns nothing, hit the line 25 again, and the status is running again on the service. Now, when you're exploring other commands, I highly recommend using the get help and get member commands to explore. You can Google, you can look at forums and whatnot, but the reality of what you're working with will be revealed using the get help and get member commands on the system you're running, because in some instances, your environment might differ from what you're looking at online. So what I'm trying to say is the source of truth is in the get help and get member commands.